Alright, this is Marvel Handbook time. This is issue 22 of the Master Edition, another collection of random characters. I am trying my hardest to not spoil who was in these by not looking at the front much. I'm honestly not looking when I do this, but when I'm tearing them out, I'm actually looking at the Secret Wilds 2 poster I have on the wall above the couch. Wonder who we're getting this time though. That's all that done then. We kick things off with Carrot Top, one of my least favourite things ever. Awful character, legitimately painful. With these handy books though, the Master Edition ones, I am going through and discussing which characters from them might have a part to play in a non-existent crossover I have invented called SeaWorld Attacks 2. Fairyland Attacks, a story wherein Set the Serpent God from the original SeaWorld Attacks goes to war with Seth, the Thor bad guy. Over that time, Seth stole all of Set's followers, as depicted in SeaWorld Attacks. We're putting together quite a little band of serpents now, the Serpent League of America. I want these in SeaWorld Attacks 2 because of the serpent thing. I do actually have a place for them. The Serpent League of America, they would be hired by Ursula or someone to break into and take control of Project Cadmus. Because in Spider-Man Team Up Annual 5, Project Cadmus was almost the area where Set returned to Earth. Due to the high level of mystical activity there that time, and the amount of serpent art that had been brought together from alternate realities, I think that would be like a special point where Set could be brought across easily. The Serpent League of America are all just guns for hire. They don't care about Ursula's scheme. They're getting paid, and that's all that's important. We have blue bars from... Add-on? These last two... These aren't in order. Someone done fucked up and they put two profiles in the wrong order. This should come before the last one. This is blue balls from the Unhumans. I've never cared much about the Unhumans, really. They never really grabbed me. They never grabbed me by the balls. They never gave me blue balls. This is a fine character, one of the better ones. But the Unhumans just never had much to offer that isn't done by other comic book characters or species. This character, was almost transformed into Brie Larson's granddad's Super Patriot. You know, the Eye Mage character, Super Patriot. Originally, it was meant to be this guy, and it was going to be at Marvel. Alpha Strike's very own Diamond Little. Leather Special. Good character. I realise I could probably put together a great Alpha Strike team with these handy books. That'll be fun. From the pages of Cap Wolf, we have Sade. I would say in an awful 90s design, but all of her designs have been pretty dreadful. At least she is not wearing the mask that she wears in some of Cap Wolf. I was thinking, she would be cool to have in SeaWorld Attacks 2. And then I started thinking about how her interest in transforming people into werewolves could be used, because the bad guys are interested in transforming people into snakes. And then I started doing what I typically do, which is thinking too much about how I could bring in all these wolf characters now and tie it to certain things. Like, there's of course a lot of notable wolves related to Fairylands. But it seems too random and ramshackle. No Sade in Fairyland Attacks. Sam Jackson, motherfucker. Samuel L. Jackson. Mace Windu himself. A Royale with cheese. Look at the big brains on breath. English, motherfucker, do you speak it? He leads SHIELD, so probably appears in that capacity in Fairyland Attacks. I don't know if he would do anything, but it's a safe bet he would crop up at some point. We've gotten our fair share of Omega Titans in the ones we've looked at so far, and the thing with them is they are fantastic imagery, but rubbish characters or plot devices. They stand around and do nothing. That's them in a nutshell. With that said, they do have relevance to SeaWorld Attack's mythology. I think at most we would have a scene of Thor, or maybe Doctor Strange, actually. We've never really seen Doctor Strange mix it up with the Omega Titans. That could be a good idea. We would have someone petition them to intervene and deal with Set the Serpent God, but they would stand around and do nothing, and never acknowledge the person's play, or even the person. Olympic God here. I think, well, Thor's race, they are in the story, and they are under threat by Seth. And when it comes down to it, the Olympic gods are one of their biggest allies, so unlike the Tom Falcon story, I do want the Olympic gods, and maybe the new gods as well, to be on Fairyland's side, helping them in war. The other pantheons would maybe send a representative or two to fight on the side of Fairylands. Quiznos from Kazar, and I think she has a good shot of being in it due to her connection to two of the characters I have in mind as main heroes in the story. I'm trying not to show me hand before I actually get those characters in one of these, but you can easily work out I mean Kazar. And if you cross-reference Kazar with the two characters I mentioned with Omega Titans, and then think about the original SeaWorld Attacks, you'll have four of what I will consider to be the main heroes. There is a couple of others I have picked out, but those four definitely. Madam Masks. I really want this character in SeaWorld Attacks 2, Fairyland Attacks, but I cannot come up with a valid, legitimate reason to use her. The closest I can think is having her on an Earth 616 version of the Serpent Cartel, because she is the leader of a mafia family. But I don't want that at all. I love this character, and I don't want her as a side villain. I want her as a badass girl boss with no allegiance. I would rather have her work on the side of the heroes than the bad guys. And I definitely don't want her enslaved or ensorcelled by the Serpent Art. Maybe there can be a tie-in story or something. Her dad can be on the Serpent Cartel, and she works with Iron Man or the Avengers to battle the Serpent Cartel. First reverse I have shown in this video. I show the backs when it's a character I like, basically. Merlin. And I think there might be a little bit of backstory to establish with Merlin. Basically, it seems that during Merlin's times, Set's influence waned, and instead his brother of sorts, Chthon, rose to power as the great evil lurking in the background. I think maybe establishing that Set and Chthon are not against the other dominating, as they both represent primordial evil. Set can flourish in a world dominated by Chthon, and vice versa. Ultimately, they would chafe and perhaps try to assert themselves over the other. Ghost Driver, the original, the Western hero, and also the rapist. Continuing that thought I just had, I wonder which of Set or Chthon were more present in the Western era. I'm going to say Set. Snakes seemed to be in vogue in the Wild West. Song Girl from Thunderballs. The team of Thunderballs we're putting together as some of the main players right now. She barely has any history by this point. she is a D-list villain still. Sybil Savile. Wow, surprisingly, I have absolutely nothing to say here. And then we have Slivers, and what will drive people nuts is I quickly got through Sybil Savile, but I am going to spend at least a minute here because this is a character that is actually incredibly important to the original SeaWorld Attacks, even though he doesn't appear in it. Slivers was originally a member of Mr. Magnus's worst evil brotherhood of evil muties of evil. That team continued on as Mutie Force without Mr. Magnus, and they went up against the Defenders a few times. They crashed Satan's Son and the Cat's Wedding, for example. After that came the important thing, though. In Captain America, Madame Hydra's adopted Slivers as a weird pet on a leash. The serpent syrup, the concoction that transforms humans into serpent men, was created by using Slivers. Slivers' next appearance is again as an agent of Madame Hydra's. Now, I am not interested in rehashing the plot lines with them trying to transform people into modern-day serpent men, but with Slivers being the modern-day equivalent of set serpent men, actually, I don't think it would be a main part of the story. I think I want to do a one-shot, or it can be like a tie-in somewhere. I want to do a story that does actually flesh out Slivers. We know nothing about him, really. His name is Aaron. He is a mutie. I think a story tying together his appearances and establishing a character behind him is constructive, and let's be honest, I really just want to have a long scene showing how Madame Hydra's abused him and made him obedient and walk around on all fours. The Serpent Men, by the way, that bit of continuity, they come from Conan the Barber stuff. Set has a very strong presence within Conan the Barber continuity. That was one of the eras where Set's influence was high. The Serpent Men were what it says on the tin. Sunboy from the Legion of Superheroes. Some of the space characters really cannot be brought into the story because Set's power is localised to Earth and some of its corresponding dimensions. You bring in space characters, you start to bring in things like Galactus Man or the Tribunal, and they should be able to make mincemeat out of Set. Here's something linking it to Galactus Man, Teriax. I like Teriax. Cannot see him having any part in Fairyland Attacks, but I like him. And there's his information here. Ultron, another one I like that I would struggle to place in my made-up story. Although, God, I do like the idea of... Right, you're not in What If 25 when everyone is dead, more or less. When Set has come to Earth and he's killed Rachel Phoenix, Mr. Doom, fatally wounded Thor. I think he's killed Silver Surfman too. I would love an extra scene where Ultron shows up. Obviously, he has been immune to the water pollution. He has no interest in saving humanity either. But now this giant serpent is there, and I just want to see Ultron fight Set. It won't happen in Fairyland Attacks. There's no good reason for it to happen. But I like the idea of Ultron showing up to fight the bad guy after all the good guys are dead. Gimli, he's so big that he doesn't have a sideways one. Yeah, he would be in it. Fairyland is... I originally joked that much like how SeaWorld Attacks barely featured SeaWorld, I joked that Fairyland Attacks would barely feature Fairyland. But I started thinking Fairyland can be the battleground. That is where Set is battling Seth. Flash from the Justice League. We have gotten two of the main characters from that team now. Last time I promised I would think on these guys and how to include them. And I considered their connection to the Serpent Art and how they were all under its control for a while. But I quickly decided no to that. This team are always under mind control. That original Steve Engeltine story with the Serpent art, Jim Tomatis' Defenders with Dr. Bedlam, Marky Mark G's Kazar, again with Dr. Bedlam, and then Kurt Busey's Avengers with Corruptor Smurf. No, I came up with a better use for the team. They are the ones who are going to try to take back Project Cadmus from the Serpent League of America. You might think that is a gag because they so massively overpower the Serpent League, but I have sensible nerfs when it comes to Superman and Zatanna. I will explain when I get them. Michael Rooker from Galactical Guardians. I did actually think on if they could be involved and decided against it. My thoughts went to the topographical man and the idea he is meant to be the living monolith, the living pharaoh, and our story has a strong tie to Egypt. But again, it's a space character, it doesn't make sense. When you bring in a space character, you start asking why aren't they bringing in all the skater boys of Galactus, man? Together they could probably defeat Seth. We have a team shot of the Avengers by Al Milburn. This is the latest Avengers team they depict in this series. If you replace Shade the Changing Man with Seaman, this is my dream team right here. So now let's bring out all the hard ones, the other profiles I have, and flesh out our teams and what we've got here. We have got 4 members of the Serpent League of America, 2 members of the Justice League, and now Songirl joins the Thunderbals alongside Fister, Plantmaster, Moonstump, and Radiation Dude. We didn't get any Avengers. Well, there was Madam Masks, but we didn't get any Avengers or Excellent Men or even Defenders. But here's a little bit of Fairyland Attacks backtracking. Going back, I should have done this last time. Here are some characters from the first 3 Andy books I looked at that will be in Fairyland Attacks. Captain America, obviously. He would be leading whoever the Avengers are. There was no doubt in anyone's mind that Captain America would be in the crossover. Kate Blanchett, she definitely would be. Kronos. With Seth, Egypt becomes a commodity in the story. And when it comes to Marvel and its Egyptian history, Kronos is an important cornerstone. I'm not sure it will pay off in the story, but if I am calling on Egypt continuity, Kronos is right there in all his overcomplicated glory. Leah of the Celtic gods was in Tom Falcon's Seth story. He could pop up easily. He would be one of those gods sent to help Fairyland. It makes sense him being in this since he was in one of the original stories that this is sort of referring to. She-Hulk is one of the original brides of Set, so I think she would be involved. I think the brides from SeaWorld Attacks, or some of them, because I can say with a smile on my face, one is a corpse in any canon, I imagine. The brides are worth including as returning stars. They have some relevance. I joked that Clang was the closest thing we had to a main star so far, but it would be She-Hulk's. I want to see this Avengers team battle Ultron. Hercules, man, has still never even fought Ultron. And here they are all together in alphabetical order. You don't know how much I need to find a new profile to be the first one on top. Actually, you know what? I'll take these 2. The 2 team entries can be at the front. This is a complete waste of your time. Me prattling on about a story that only exists in our hearts and minds. I've still got a good number of these to do. I'm sure we will unearth some more important parts of SeaWorld Attacks 2, Fairyland Attacks next time. It's kind of pointless as well because Set doesn't even have an entry in these. I'll give it a mighty 7 characters who are in SeaWorld Attacks 2, Fairyland Attacks. Was there 7? I think it was exactly 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, exactly 7.